After much wait, Terminator Dark Fate finally hit the theatres to mostly positive reviews. While not as acclaimed as the first two instalments of the franchise, a lot of mainstream critics agreed that it was a true sequel to Judgment Day. After all, it not only marked the return of Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor, but also the return of series creator James Cameron. However, after seeing the film, we can't help but be a little bit disappointed in the end product. Now, while it's still an enjoyable enough picture, it made a lot of strange decisions that we can't seem to reconcile with. Decisions that not only hurt its quality, but also, in our opinion, actually make it a worse sequel than 2003's Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. Here are our 5 reasons why we believe Terminator 3 was a better follow-up overall. Please note that spoilers will be discussed for both films, so naturally if you don't want to hear any more, just look away now or stop. John Connor. John Connor is as synonymous with the Terminator title as any other character. He was the hidden protagonist of the first film, and at varying degrees, the hero in the 4 sequels that followed. He is the man who Skynet feared so much they were willing to murder his innocent mother to prevent his birth. He was that integral to the franchise. Yet clearly, Cameron and director Tim Miller forgot about that in the 27 years since Terminator 2. The beginning of Dark Fate opens up with a shocker. A Terminator arriving and killing the young Connor while he's relaxing with Sarah. The bigger shocker, however, comes by the end of the film, when you realise that there's no secret twist to this scene. John is really dead. It was incredibly disrespectful to the mythology of the franchise, to say the least. Compare this to Terminator 3, where we see a realistic Connor, brilliantly portrayed by Nick Stahl. John here is scared out of his mind after experiencing such a traumatic event as a child, but he nonetheless commits to the mission, going on a journey that culminates in him taking his position as leader of the Resistance. A good character arc compared to the nonsense we got in Dark Fate. Reskinned villain. Terminator 2 revolutionised the visual effects industry with the T-1000, a robot made of liquid metal that could mould into whatever it wanted. Topping it, and Robert Patrick's acting, would not be an easy feat. Cameron and Miller may have realised that early on, yet their solution to this was not to be imaginative, but to instead essentially reskin the T-1000, this time as a killer android named the Rev-9. Now, while the Rev-9 does have a hard endoskeleton, its power comes primarily from the liquid metal that surrounds the structure, allowing it to create melee weapons, take hits, or even split off into a second enemy. Outside of this last ability, it was essentially the same thing as the T-1000. Terminator 3, on the other hand, introduced the TX. Like the Rev-9, the TX also had hard and soft alloy components, courtesy of its skeletal composition. But unlike the Rev-9, it was given abilities that made it a unique threat beyond just having a female appearance. For one, it was capable of hacking machinery, piloting many automobiles in an amazing chase sequence, as well as brainwashing Arnold's T-850 towards the end of the flick. Second, instead of relying on hand-to-hand combat, it also came with several pre-built weapons like a flamethrower, buzzsaw and a laser gun. And lastly, it was more than just a killer robot. It was a smart machine that utilised psychological tactics to throw enemies off guard. A worthy antagonist, which we can't quite say for Gabriel Byrne's villainous persona. Skynet and the inevitability of fate. One of the unique things that Terminator 3 and even Genesis explored was this idea about the inevitability of fate. Skynet was destined to plunge the Earth into a nuclear winter just as John Connor was destined to destroy them. No matter what anyone did, this was always going to be the case. The fans of Terminator 2 were understandably upset by this. By the end of the film, it appeared that Sarah, John, Miles Dyson, and the reprogrammed T-800 had indeed discovered a way to permanently prevent the rogue AI system from taking over. Perhaps responding to this notion that people wanted Skynet gone for good, Miller and Cameron decided that the best solution would be to not revisit the iconic entity, but to instead create a carbon clone called Legion. There's no narrative difference between Legion and Skynet. It set off a nuclear apocalypse and created Terminator-like robots to wipe out the rest of humanity. It was lazy writing, and more importantly, didn't expand on any time travel themes the way Rise of the Machines did. All Legion is a ham-fisted commentary on the dangers that come with artificial general intelligence, something we've known since the first Terminator back in the 80s. The ending. Sequelitis is one of the biggest problems plaguing the film industry. This idea of doing sequels for the sake of milking money and not for any particular storytelling reason. Many people would argue that the first two Terminators formed a closed storyline, something that Cameron himself stated back in the 90s. However, we have to deal with the cards we've been dealt, and the question is, at this point in time, does the Terminator franchise need to continue or end? Has the story been told, or is there more to tell? No matter what you believe, the fact is going with an ending that prioritises setting up sequels over completing a narrative arc is a bad decision because it indicates the creators are more interested in the future marketability of the IP over its contemporary quality. As we said before, Terminator Dark Fate was a good movie, but its finale was hardly the conclusion we were looking for from a film highlighting itself as the direct sequel to Terminator 2. It didn't give any of the characters a definitive ending, instead putting them on a path to be expanded upon in a future overrun by dangerous AI. Terminator 3, on the other hand, played a daring card, having Judgment Day happen no matter the efforts of John, the T-850 and Kate. It showed a world hit with nuclear missiles and provided a definitive end to the arc began in the first Terminator. This idea that fate and time are closed loops that cannot be altered. By beginning his role as leader of the Resistance, John sets himself up for the future war that is to arrive. And while future follow-ups could depict this war, as Terminator Salvation ultimately did, the finale wasn't affected by them being produced or not. It was a great ending, which we can't say for Dark Fate. Good old Arnold. You cannot think of the Terminator and not think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. The bodybuilder turned actor is the franchise. His performance as the T-800, first as a bad guy, then as a good guy, covered a full range of emotions that cemented his status as a pop culture icon. In trying to find a way to reimagine the character, Cameron and Miller settled on giving him a consciousness, an idea that has been a part of machine ethical studies for years now. This wasn't a bad concept, but all it did was result in him becoming a standard good guy, content on helping Sarah. There was no development seen on screen the way we saw with John and the Terminator during T2, where you experience him slowly becoming more human. Terminator 3 may have rehashed the reprogrammed aspects from T2, but to its credit, it committed to the idea of a Terminator being a machine adapting naturally to circumstances when prompted. Several scenes showed John and the Terminator establishing a new bond that bordered on the relationship seen in T2, which made John's ability to stop the hacked T-850 from killing him all the more natural. Anyway, those are our reasons why we like Terminator 3 better than Dark Fate. What are your thoughts on the two movies? Make sure you share them in the comments below, and obviously be sure to subscribe to more content from Flickering Myth or visit us at flickeringmyth.com. This is Scotty for Flickering Myth, signing off.